for you, you're about the builders and the companies that are trying to use the underlying technology, Jalak. But just paint the macro picture right now. What does bring institutional retail money back into the ETFs or to the crypto as they stand?
Sure. I mean, your previous guests have mentioned the Bank of Japan news, which was significant for Bitcoin as well as the broader crypto markets. And we've seen crypto since the ETFs have been issued, and we've seen more institutional involvement move more in line with other risk assets. Before, we saw a decoupling of the price behavior, but now, we're looking at the macro outlook, and it's challenging for risk assets right now. We also have the added challenge of the Bitcoin treasuries that have been built up. And if we start to see selling, as strategy mentioned they may do, that's going to create more downward pressure. However, we still believe that there's great global demand for Bitcoin specifically, and we're going to continue to see ETFs and new products develop on Bitcoin. That's just going to happen in the next year or so.
I mean, you're all about the ecosystem, blockchain.com, BitGo, also thinking, of course, how you've been in MoonPay. But when you see worries around stablecoins, or when there's a broader macro downward pressure, does that impact those that are trying to build, or do they shake it off?
Well, it certainly impacts in the short term, but a lot of these entrepreneurs have been building for years towards a kind of rewiring of the financial system that is faster, cheaper, offers broader access to different types of financial assets. And we have seen over the years that trend is not going away. There's going to be short-term blips, as we're seeing now. But stablecoins are going to be an important part of the new financial order. And we're seeing companies like Stripe and others start to adopt access to stablecoins.
That is the state of play that you've just summarized. Everyone is bullish on the long term about the role of these technologies in the global financial system. And in the near term, we're in risk-off mode because of worries about interest rates and the direction for interest rates. And that, in the moment, is moving markets. How long does that carry on for?
Well, there's a great amount of uncertainty, I think, through the end of the year. I'd say I'm looking towards the early next year to have that certainty back. We have several companies in our portfolio lined up to go public on NASDAQ. We're probably going to see, some of the short-term delay on that until market conditions improve. But I do believe that they will improve early next year.
I just can't help myself. What is your 2026 year-end Bitcoin prediction?
Well, I don't believe we're going to see massive kind of price movements. I've been invested in the sector, as you know, since 2013, specifically in Bitcoin. And we've seen massive, upswings, downswings. What we're seeing now, I think there'll be some tight trading. I can see it go, up to 200. I'm not one of those that's going to predict that it's going to go to 1 million.
The reason I asked that, I was trying to marry those 2 points, the long-term bullishness on the underlying technology and the short-term price volatility. I did find it interesting reading the Bloomberg terminal that the data set that is giving most concern is lack of inflows into the ETFs, which you've discussed. What would change the psychology of people to push inflows in a positive direction?
Yeah, I think it goes back to certainty. We want to see where the interest rates are headed on a global basis. The October sell-off in the crypto sector was due to the tariff uncertainty around China. We also saw people taking profits when Bitcoin went up to 126,000. So in the span of 3 months, or less than 3 months, we've seen over a 30% drop. That being said, I don't see a downward spiral because there are going to be people who want to get access to the asset. I mean, we just came off of Thanksgiving in the US, and dinner table conversation was all around crypto. Of course, AI also, but crypto was a big part of it. So there's still a lot of retail interest, and I think they get concerned when you just see these big price drops, but we'll start to see that reverse.